Hi there and welcome to Tom's Warhammer Minis. In today's video, I'm finishing off the last character from the Sky Lantern box set. The Magistrates of Grand Cathay are another form of supreme authority, and while this character can be the main part of the Sky Lantern, he does have separate rules as a separate miniature with the base that's provided. This fantastic miniature has a very unique and very different colour scheme from the rest of the Grand Cathay range. And this guide will match the box art in a very simple and easy to follow contrast painting tutorial. As always, it's primed in white scar and I'm only using Citadel paints and the contrast painting method. So without further ado, grab your brushes and paints and let's get hobbying. So the overall box art scheme of the Magistrate is quite simple in a really great way to speed paint and having it look incredible in next to no time. With that in mind, I've already gone ahead and textured the base with a Grellin Badland. After all, by sticking grass and tusks on later, any mistakes that I might make will easily be covered up. Now onto the model itself, and for his red details, I've started with Blood Angel's Red. This red is bright and vibrant. For the inside cloak, I've painted it with Black Legion. Once both of these details have dried, I've darkened them further with Nuln Oil. Yellow is a notorious colour that can be quite tricky to paint. However, the contrast paints that exist now make it very super easy and simple, yet they do lack recessed shading. For this part of the yellow, I've used Imperial Fist, a very strong, vibrant, slightly darker yellow. Once it's completely dry, I've shaded it with Cassadora Yellow shade paint. It has a slightly orangey tint into the recesses. The box art image shows that the Magistrate's main colour of cloak is a white one. Now while we have primed this in white scar, we want to darken it down and then bring it back to white again. The best shade for this that I've used is Soulblight Grey. Let it go into the recesses and let it dry fully. I've painted it all over, so it will look quite dark. Once it's dry, I've used Corax White to relayer all the flat surfaces but leaving the recesses with the Soulblight Grey. By doing this, we'll be able to do white scar as the highlight later, which will make sure it will stand out. Next up is all of the brown details, and I've got a selection of 3 different paints here that I've used. For the leather, which is on the wrist wraps, the boots, the belt buckle, as well as the buckle that's holding both of these scrolls, I've used Cygor Brown. For the ropes that are around the wrists, legs and the boots, I've used Snakebite Leather, and for the scroll paper themselves, I've used Skeleton Horde. For the weapon handle, as well as little tiny ropes that are holding his keys, I've painted them with Sigvuld Burgundy. Next up is the skin tone, and the perfect colour for this that I've used before is Darkoath Flesh. And for his facial hair, because I want a more aged appearance being a wise magistrate, I've used Basilicanum Grey. It's time to make our Magistrate battle ready by painting the metallic details. Now there's only 3 colours I've used here. First off, for the silver, it's Iron Hand Steel, a very bright and perfect base coat for what I want. For shading, I've used Nuln Oil, except I've been very precise. The only silver details I've shaded are the sword blade and the keys. The rest of it, I haven't shaded because we won't need to. For the gold details, I've used a classic Retributor Armour and shaded with Reikland Fleshshade. For the gem on top of his helmet, I've painted in Stormhost Silver, ready to colour later on. Next up, we're going to do our first set of highlights to make this model stand out truly on a tabletop or in a cabinet. For our red details, I've highlighted with Wild Rider Red. For the yellow details, I've used Phalanx Yellow. For the black cape, because I want it to stand out against the yellow and the red, creating that triadic scheme, I've used Thunderhawk Blue. And finally, for the white details, I've highlighted with White Scar. I've also used White Scar at this opportunity to paint and dot the eyes. Next up, I've done some spot highlights of Flayed One Flesh all over his skin. Spot highlights are just simple dots, and I've done these on joints and areas such as the knuckles, as well as the tip of his nose. For the Sigvuld Burgundy ropes, I've used Pink Horror as the highlight. And finally, with the face done, I've taken the opportunity to dot the eyes with Abaddon Black. It's now time to highlight all of our brown details. For the Cygor Brown, I've used Deathclaw Brown. For all the ropes I painted in Snakebite Leather, I've highlighted them with Corax Stone. And for the scroll parchment papers, I've used Pallid Witch Flesh for a bright highlight. I've also taken the opportunity to paint the gem with Warp Lightning. Following the highlights I've used in my other Grand Cathay miniatures, I've highlighted the gold with Liberator Gold. For the silver, I've highlighted with Stormhost Silver. To finish off the gem, I've shaded it with Bale Tan Green, and once it's fully dry, I've used Ardcoat Gloss Varnish to give it that shiny gem look. All that's left to do now is to finish off the base. I've dry brushed it with Pallid Witch Flesh, and I'm going to now put down some static grass and some tufts. And there we have it, our Magistrate of Grand Cathay is complete. And again, it's just a really nice, unique miniature. Now, I love the Sky Lantern, I think everyone knows that. And to have that extra character is just a really cool feature. But what really works for me as a miniature painter is the extremely different colour scheme from the rest of the army. It just keeps it really fresh and interesting. Not that I get bored painting, but it really helps us to break up, those endless jade colours. And it certainly stands out as a unique, albeit very small piece on the tabletop. Now, I generally hope this guide and my other guides have brought inspiration and help for your Grand Cathay miniatures. We're only at the beginning of this channel, and I appreciate every view and every bit of support I've received so far. If the guides have helped, then please give it a like, consider subscribing, and checking out my Instagram too for all the amazing Warhammer I've done over the last few years. But until the next time though, take care and happy hobbying.